Welcome back. Industry and government leaders say the people piece is becoming the most important piece of digital modernization. Pamela Powers is Executive Managing Director for Defense at Maximus. She's former Chief of Staff to the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness. She writes that, quote, successful modernization requires fostering a human-centered approach. At West 2025 in San Diego recently, I asked her why that's so important.
Department of Defense has typically looked at modernizing systems and not really modernizing the system based upon the person that's using it or the mission impacted by that system. And I think the department is starting to shift. The CIO recently came out with, I think it was last year, came out with a new strategy that focuses on user experience, but I think it needs to be broader than that. It's not just the user, it's also that mission impact. And I think it helps in a lot of ways. It makes it more intuitive. It creates a better process because you're designing it around the person that's going to use it. But it also shows you really where the pain points are in that process, right? And where you get the biggest bang for your improvement dollars. And then it has a better outcome in the end.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like that also forces organizations to figure out what their business processes are and see what they need to do to modernize the processes and not just the systems. Is that a fair read on my part?
Oh, for sure. And I think a lot of organizations focus on one process without looking at it as an ecosystem of processes, of technology, of tools that all interreact or interrelate to create that outcome, right? And so you can't necessarily just fix one of the processes. You can't necessarily fix, one of the systems. It all works together to create that experience or to create that mission outcome.
You mentioned the data analytics and AI adoption strategy that DoD put out recently. What's the connection among all of those pieces to what that user experience winds up looking like, how it functions for that user?
Sure. Well, data is really at the center of all of that. And treating data as a strategic asset and as a product really allows you to focus on the quality and the accessibility and the usability of that data. And I think that's so critical for the Department of Defense, and all the services are really focusing on that because there's so much, as technology improves, there's so much data. And harnessing that data in a quality way, in a way that can be used to create faster decisions, better information, I think is really a decision advantage for our warfighters.
One modernization concept that I know that was important to you, both in the Pentagon and at VA, was cultural transformation to kind of underpin the modernization and transformation strategy. What's that connection look like in your view?
Sure. Well, I mean, any modernization is difficult for an organization, especially one that's stretched as thin as the Department of Defense, right? And change management is incredibly important when modernizing or changing things in the department. Understanding how it's going to impact the organization at all levels, and really taking a human-centered design approach that understands what the pain points are going to be throughout that journey is super important. And also it allows you to get buy-in from the users, from the customers that are going to be the recipients of that modernization. Without that change management and that human-centered design, it's hard for organizations to really embrace and accept and buy in and use it the way it should be designed, but also to give feedback along that journey, because as you're implementing these transformations, without that feedback of what's working, what's not working, what needs to be improved, it's not going to be designed effectively or efficiently.
Mm-hmm. You're on the other side now of the industry government equation. Sure. What's your sense now that you have done that about what each side of that equation's role is in delivering the kinds of transformations that you just described? What does industry bring to the table, and how is it a good partner with DoD and vice versa?
Well, it's got to be a partnership, right? Industry can bring solutions fast, can bring innovative solutions, but the warfighter knows what they need and when they need it and how they need it. And the organizations that industry serves really understand, all of the details, and industry doesn't necessarily understand. So it's a partnership, and I think industry can bring fast solutions and innovative solutions, but but the government has to create frameworks that allow for that speed, right? Everybody here is talking about, I need technology fast, and I need it in a way that serves me and my warfighter. But industry can give that, but that framework has to be there to be able to accept it and be a constant evolution enablement.